Yellowstone eruption fears as geysers of supervolcano are growing more active, and the geologists are not sure why this is happening. They can only guess. This is by Anthony Blair on Daily Star, according to what USGS has informed them. The geysers above the Yellowstone supervolcano in Wyoming are growing more and more active, and scientists are unable to explain why. Powerful hot springs in the national park in Wyoming are erupting far more regularly than they have at any other recorded point. Some springs, which would normally spew steam around every 50 years, are now erupting every week. We're talking about, for example, the Steamboat Geyser at Norris Geyser Basin. It started erupting March last year, and it's been erupting at an average of every week. It erupted 30 times last year and about 14 times up to now this year. The Yellowstone Volcano Observatory said the Steamboat Geyser, which previously erupted less than twice a century, can you imagine, erupted 32 times in 2018. Last year, it was reported that the Steamboat Geyser erupted 10 times in just 3 months. Researchers from U.S. Geological Survey, the USGS, said an approximately 8-foot diameter area of surrounding ground is breathing, rising and falling by about 6 inches every 10 minutes. Can you imagine? This thing is rising and falling half a foot every single 10 minutes. That's unbelievably astonishing. So there's a danger that fears after geysers at Yellowstone Park began erupting more regularly. And it's not just Steamboat Geyser in Yellowstone that erupted 32 times last year. After they noticed that there was a deformation and that the Norris Geyser Basin is rising, the Norris Geyser Basin is where we find Steamboat Geyser. They also found that the Ledge Geyser, which is also located in Norris Geyser Basin, has now recently erupted. And it's a very noisy geyser. It's a very narrow passage that has to go through the crack in the rocks, and it whistles and screams basically as it comes out. If you're standing close to it, you have to yell to each other to hear each other. That's how noisy it is. So we have the Steamboat Geyser going off regularly, and now the Ledge Geyser. It's called ledge because it's coming out from the side of a crack on the rock, on the ledge of the rock. That's why it's called Ledge Geyser, and it's very noisy. Now, the Steamboat Geyser also happens to be the tallest, biggest geyser in the world. There are over 600 geysers in Yellowstone. And Yellowstone, they say, has over 60% of the world's geysers. And it has 10,000 hydrothermal areas. Not all of them have yet been mapped. Now, the park, as we know, lies on top of an enormous supervolcano, and Yellowstone Lake lies right on top of the magma chamber. The lake is on the roof of the magma chamber. The geysers in the park sit on top of an enormous supervolcano. It last erupted 664,000 years ago. The massive upsurge in activity has been recorded at the Norris Geyser Basin, as we said, known as one of the hottest and most unpredictable thermal areas in Yellowstone National Park. Late last year, one geyser dubbed Ear Spring spat out 80 years of rubbish there. Old coins, beer cans, and even a baby's dummy found from the 1930s were fired out almost 30 feet into the air when it erupted for the first time in 1957. The park and the USGS officials stressed the increased activity in the hot springs is not a sign an eruption is imminent. They said changes in Yellowstone's hydrothermal features are common occurrences and do not reflect changes in activity of Yellowstone volcano. This is what they said in their statement. This is because the magma which triggers volcanic eruption lies several kilometers below the surface, while the hydrothermal system, which causes geysers, is just limited to the top 30 meters or 100 feet from the surface. Michael Poland is the lead scientist at Yellowstone Volcano Observatory, and he told National Geographic, as geysers go, Steamboat is sort of typical in terms of having these sporadic, unpredictable eruptions. He explained the huge amount of snow dumped on the park by recent extreme weather related to the polar vortex may have added extra water to the reservoirs on top of the geysers, and this caused them to overflow, triggering more and more frequent eruptions. And he said it's a good lesson in how geysers actually work, and as soon as you start to recognize a pattern, it changes, he said. The unfortunate thing is that they only have one seismometer near Steamboat Geyser, and they have no thermal monitor at Steamboat Geyser. They do have thermal monitors in other areas of Yellowstone National Park, but not at Steamboat Geyser, the biggest geyser of the world, and the one that has turned most active. And hopefully they will be able to get a thermal monitor up there, because I think it's very important for them to do so. They have to monitor this most dangerous supervolcano in the world, and the biggest geyser in the world in the Norris Geyser Basin, which has seen such uplift and activity in various geysers, the Earspring Geyser, the Ledge Geyser, and the Steamboat Geyser. And we also noticed from USGS monitoring, if you go to their site, the monitoring details show us that the area there is increasing in heat, which is unusual. It's increasing in heat. Well, we know that, okay, you can have more water because of the snowing ice melt and the underground water increasing in supply. But what causes the heat to increase? The heat can only increase if there's more magma, hotter magma underneath, heating up the water. Now, as far as what is causing these geysers to erupt more frequently, what the USGS are telling us is basically guesses and theories. They can't know for sure what's causing them, but one thing that is steadily increasing is the heat, and that obviously is from the temperature of the magma underneath. They do come out with announcements every week on Yellowstone Caldera Chronicles, and we'll look forward to what they will be announcing in a few days. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.